Good morning. I hope everyone's having a great morning, and I hope everyone a little bit of foreshadow wish. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Okay, I wanted to take a brief moment and show some of the additional features that I've added to. Let me move this out of the way. That I've added to conflict utility. Since I already have the data in there, it was just very quick, easy code to just add it in the interface. One of the things I added was a profile selection. So if you're using, let's say, Mod Organizer 2, I don't have Vortex done. I started doing the Vortex, but the folders are a little bit different than Mod Organizer 2. So I put some overrides, the ability to have overrides in the actual game definition and for Vortex, because I think Mod Organizer 2 will work just fine, but it's there in case it's needed. And I'll show everyone how to update that a little bit later. But what I want to do is kind of show what I've done here. Some of the features I think might be useful. So if you have the Mod Organizer 2, the MO2 Manager flag set, then all of your profiles for a game should show up in this window, and then you just click on them to switch to whatever that profile is. And in a sense, it literally just rebuilds the folder. It just sets the profile name as a substitution parameter. It uses the exact same localization records for the folders, the FDR records. It uses the same one because the manager profile replacement parameter is built into that string. So all I had to do is set it and then just reload the files with the new profile, and we're good. Okay, but one of the things I wanted to show is, so that's the new one. But another thing I wanted to show is I had put in this earlier the ability to quote show files. And one of the things I'd come across early on when I was kind of developing all this stuff is, I wanted to simplify it, because usually when I'm doing something, the less I have to think about something, the more I can code my process into, the more I can put my process either into code or some type of documentation or some type of implementation, then that means that superficially, or not superficially, but at the top level of the way that a thinking process might work, I'm more involved in solving whatever it is I'm working on with what I call like a pseudo mental code. Like a pseudocode might be, I need to check two values, or better yet, I need to see if a value is set. So a pseudocode might be, okay, it's in a file, so I need to load the file, parse the file, retrieve the value. So I took that kind of pseudo idea and I put those in custom libraries so that way I can say, okay, if it's in this type of format, I can load it and I can access it with just kind of key it in. And it simplifies it. So I don't even have to think about like what the values do, or, because these might be for an individual application. That doesn't concern me at the moment. Just that, oh, they have it in this format. I can load this. I have, like I can load a list, just a flat out, what they call a flat file, a text list. I can search for items in a list. I can search for a keyword in a list, or I can load a configuration file like you might see with the default games, where it has a header in square brackets. That would be the section name in square brackets, and then you have the actual um, parameter, or the keyword, and then whatever the value for that keyword is. I can load those as well. The only thing I don't have right now is converting a JSON file into a config items file. That's coming up. I've got that on the list of things to do. But next week I want to start working on the decompression, at least for the older Bethesda games, and then I'll play it. Then I'll kind of put that in place, and then I'll switch off to something else. But one of the things, other things that need to be done, but one of the things I wanted to show is I put the program control file in. I went ahead and included that. Let me show you what this does. I think you might have seen this on my program. But let's go ahead and fire this off. Okay, so you can see that it automatically launched NifScope. And all that really did, all that does is, if you see here, when you double click on an item inside the framework, it says, okay, you've double clicked on an item. You've double clicked it. So you're wanting to show, quote, quote, show that. And it could be anything. It could be a document text file. I'll show you some more examples down here. And really, it was all there. I just needed to include the control file. All right, let's see if we can find a, like, here's an example of a PEX. Now, these are loose files at the moment, and I use Champollion to decompile it. So just by double clicking on the PEX, I can see the script. I can see the actual PEX script. Now remember, the actual code to decompress BA2s is not in there yet, or BSAs. So I have the BSA library, but it doesn't have the extraction code. So that's what I'm going to start working on next week. And then you would be able to just double click one of these items, and then it would extract the file and show you what it looks like. But I want to look at another one here. Let's see. So let me show you one more. So out of the box, uh, we can look at material files. We can look at DDS files. Let's try this. Let's go over to here. Let's do textures. We can look at texture files using third-party applications, and I'll show you which applications I have installed. And the program control file literally just kind of says, this file has this file extension, and then that definition tells what program you define to handle that file extension. That's really all that does. Hopefully, I don't know if this is the one that has a lot of textures in it. I think it does because there's quite a few textures, and this is going to be too big. So what we're going to do is, let me, that's going to be massive. So it's going to, well, okay, we're done. All right, so let's go down to the bottom to where all my, uh, these would be my, these right here would be, my mods would be at the bottom, and all the mods up above would be for the, those are official files. Now, the DDS viewer I'm looking cannot load, if you notice, it can't load every single file. It's not able to load some formats. So let's see if we can find one here. Here's an example. So, and if you have a better viewer, that's fine. But literally, if you're looking at conflicts, you can double click a PEX file to decompile it. If it's a PSC file, you can read it. You can open it with Notepad. I use I think it's Ifran Viewer. I'm not sure how he pronounces that, to show DDS files. Okay, we can't see the next one. That's fine. But you can actually buzz through every file that's in the folder. I can use I'm using the scroll wheel. So it's using the folder name to scroll through all of the available. And some of them it can't load. This format here, it doesn't understand, so it doesn't load it. But that's Ifran Viewer, so you can look at, so as an example, in this particular DDS, it's found in a mod folder, and then by using the scroll wheel, I can buzz through the other textures in there. And then it was the same with meshes and animations. HKX, I believe, can also be opened by NifScope, and you just need to pass the information to it. And how you do that is using this. It's a program control file. I don't see it right there, so let me grab it real quick, and I will show you what it is. Okay, we won't need that. Okay, so here's the program control file. Everything, like I said, everything is self-documenting. Everything is very simply laid out, so it's not very complicated. And that way it's easy to kind of pick up and kind of understand. If you go down to the bottom here, you'll see it'll be like a show. It'll be like here's a prefix right here. Okay. So you see where it says, let me see. Here we go, show functions. Okay, so show is that's a given. It's always going to be show. So when you double click an item, it appends or it actually prefixes the file extension with the word show, and that is a unique tag. So if I have multiple show wave, show wave, show wave, if I have multiple ones of those, the last one will have precedence because it loads this stuff into a program controlled dictionary and it considers this to be unique. So it doesn't create a second instance of it. It literally just says, okay, show wave is unique. So whichever one is the last one, the first one, or if there's no other ones, then that's the one I'm going to use. So you have to keep that in mind. I came across that a little while back. Okay, so you can see OGG MD3. So if you go down here to, let's see, we are looking for BGSM. All right, so there is a material editor that is on the Nexus, and I installed that. I didn't really install it in my game. So what I do is, this is my mod folder. That's just the name. That's in my mod folder. That's where my mods are stored for Fallout 4. Those are the extracted mods. So if you were using, like, let's say Mod Organizer 2, it would be under the mods folder. I think it's under I think I have it as manager base. It would be manager base, and then I think whatever the profile might be, and then mods or game mods. You have to take a look. You have to look on your own. You'll have to look in your files to see. But this is where I keep mine. And it's kind of very much the same thing. It says this is the common directory, and then this is the game. So all the extracted files are separated by game. But that's the material editor. There's a Swift file, and then here's where I did NIF scope. So you could put ex. I think there's another parameter called exeparam. But I just put the full file name, and that's fine. And that's what I have here. And you can see that it's just something I've extracted. So I just run it right out of the extracted folder. And I can pass the file name to it, which is this. And I do have it double quoted. You do see the double quotes around it. So with that, whenever you select an item, so the way the framework works is whenever you select an item, if it's a folder name, if it can determine quickly without doing a lot of does the folder exist calls. So if it can determine if it thinks it's a folder name, then that would be folder. This right here, instead of being file, would be folder. If it's a file name that you click on, or it determines it to be a file, and that's controlled by flags. And flags can either be in an item record you set up, but there's all of these things use custom data structures. They use a custom list view item, and those have custom data structures in it. And one of them is flags. So the item has a flag in it. So if it's set up and then there's like quite a few different flags you can use that define what the item is. But there's more than that. You have an ID custom field, which defines the type of item. You have a group. So there's other different custom fields that a list view item can have that gives the programmer or the libraries, the custom libraries, not access control, but flow control. It allows to designate a flow control for that event. So when you double click, that's the event. The flow control says you've double clicked. What is the type of item you've clicked on? And then it flows from there. But to kind of see this is where this is the file extension, and remember, show, it's always show. Now, I don't know if I put the word show in a localization, so that way it could be localized for different languages. I'm not sure. It wouldn't be that hard to do, but you'd have to change all of these to represent whatever the languages you're using. but that would make it completely, a complete localization for a native language. But you can see NIF. So this is what happens. So when I double clicked over here on a NIF, this is a DDS. So when I double clicked on it, it knows the name of the file because again, there is a file link that is a custom field. It knows that name. So it knows that it's a file name. And then once it knows it's a file name, you want to show this file, and now it needs to determine what program to use to show it. And then that's when it goes in and says, okay, it has this NIF as an example. It's got a NIF extension, a .NIF at the end of it. So this is the program I want to use, and this is the parameters that I want to send this program. And the flags where it says, "Don't redirect standard IO," there is a common execute function. It's a method in the utilities custom library. It has a lot of different, it's very extensible. It's very robust and very extensible into what parameters you can pass to it and how you want things to play out, how you wanna execute something. And one of the ways that it executes is you can say that I want to redirect the IO. So if the program is going to output text, I want to redirect that. You can redirect it to a file. You can do a lot of things with it. But since I don't, and if you redirect it, then it's going to wait unless it's ran, unless that function is ran, that method is ran as a thread. And there is a worker class in utilities that let you define and run as many threads as you want. So unless you run it as a thread, because an example of a thread would be, let's see. Let me see. We don't want that. You want this one here. Helps if I can spell it right. Oh my God. Okay, so here's an example of using that worker class. So see, that's a thread I define. That is the subroutine I want to execute. Right here, this is the sub I want to execute. These are the parameters I'm going to pass it. And then this is the utility library whose job is to start that thread. And then when it starts the thread, you'll actually there's a canned report you can actually show which shows running threads. You can actually see what is running inside the application. And you can do other things with that, but I don't think I've included it in this app because that really goes out of the scope of what this application does. And these are just kind of simple, quick and easy apps to kind of do certain things. But that's how you do that. So it's very, very simple. Define your thread, execute it. And here you can put animation names, and that's what gives the loading bar. It'll actually give the loading bar which shows loading. That's all part of the animation. So depending on what variables you pass the animation method, it does certain things. If you can have different types of animations. You can have scroll left, scroll right, scroll all kinds of different stuff. But I'll talk about all that stuff later. But that is where that is. And that's what a thread is. So unless you do that, it's going to have to wait for the standard IO to complete. So that's why I put don't redirect standard IO. So it just launches it. When it's done, it's done. It does. I mean, it launches it and then it returns control back to whatever this application here is doing. It doesn't wait for NIF scope to be done. And you wouldn't want that because if I actually bring it up, see, if I bring it up, I want to be able to go in here and select another one if possible. See, I don't even know if there's one in here. Is that the same one? It could be. Maybe just nothing but faces. Let's see. I haven't really looked. What's this? Is this one? Yeah, might be nothing but just different types of faces. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to tie this video up too much with this. But if I didn't flag it some way, then what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to wait till you close NIF scope before it returns control back to the main program. I didn't wanna do that, and that's what that does. So there's all kinds of really, really neat things you can do to kind of manage that flow through your application. But that's what I wanted to show everybody. It was real easy to add. I actually, that was code that I just copied directly. It's pipe code I copied directly from um, Mod Helper, just dropped it in this. It was in here and I didn't even realize it. All I really had to do was add the program control file, and that was it. But you will need to edit you will need to edit the show definitions. You will need to edit these to make sure they point to the correct file. In cases like this, it should work. If you have Notepad installed, it should work just fine because that should be the location of it. But things like this, these are explicitly defined locations, so you will need to change this. But like I was saying earlier, there is a material editor on the Nexus. There's NIF scope on the Nexus. I use iframe view for DDS. There's probably a much better one out there. I look for more like I think I look for like freeware stuff that I didn't have to register, or things that I didn't have to actually pay for. Paid for would probably be better and it would be a lot more useful than just throwing something up. Like I say, the iframe can't show every single format. I'm not even sure if it handles every DDS format. Maybe that's the problem. But that's pretty much it for that program. That's pretty much it for this. Um, I did go ahead and put some refreshes in here. So once everything is loaded, it's opening the game. If you have the plugins view open and um, your profiles, it will reload that information. So that way you don't have to manually reload it. I had a feature built in that automatically did that, but I don't really, it requires a specific data structure. Uh, Specifically, it requires a data structure, a function info data structure, which is used by the pipe. But the way that I set up the list view system, the way that I set that up is you can either give it a function info, or you can give it a list, just an array list of items that you want to build into a list view. And that's what I did here. I just used the report list as opposed to the function info. And one of the downsides to that is the function to refresh. If you go in, you can actually do an F12 refresh. It needs a function info structure to figure out what opcode to call in the pipe to refresh the window, because it remembers your parameters. But if you're using just a report, then that has absolutely no effect, because there is no way it can link that back to an opcode, to a functional opcode. So, and that's okay, because this is just kind of like, I call them like, they're not really quick and dirties, but I kind of call them a quick and dirty, but they're not really quick and dirties, because they're structured. These apps are structured, they're documented. It's not, they are thrown together. I'm again lying about that. But and a lot of times when I copy stuff over, I'll copy data over that's not used by the program, but it's from the previous program, and you'll see it and you're like, well, why is that in here? Technically, it shouldn't be. I have to go back and clean these up at a later time. But okay, so hopefully I got the mod organizer 2 code working. If it doesn't run on your end, this isn't you might try running it as an administrator. That is not the solution that I prefer. That's not the solution that I encourage. Um, because it works fine on my system. I don't have to do that, and therefore it should work fine on everyone else's system. If it doesn't, let me know, and I'll see what I can do to fix it and tinker around with it. Uh, as far as opening the game, and as far as opening the plugin list, in I did not put that in the key maps file. I built into the library the ability to override. Let's find where we're at here. Let's see, where are we at? Gonna take me a minute here to locate what I'm looking for, which is all right. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it took me a second. Okay, so what I did is I put overrides in every one of these innies. See key map override, key maps, these are overrides. So these will override whatever key map is in the key maps file, and that's what I put there. So P points to a pipe option code to show the plugin list, and Q is the option code to show the game report, or it's like you can call them reports. If you're curious, it's let's see, I think it's going to be so the profile report is very, very simple. Um, here's the list I was talking about. That's the array list. Here is where I add the headers to it. And if I can't find the headers, then there's no reason to do anything else. Here's where I get a that's where I get the directory for the profile names. Their folder names should be under manager base. And then I loop through the folder names. That's what this does. So we have the headers for our reports, and the headers are actually defined over here. Here's the headers. I mean, yeah, these are the headers. It's going to be under report. See, there's the headers, which just says profile. And I want to display the name field. And the title for the form is up in the window. There's the title of the form. So we're going to add the headers. And now because the method to build a list view is kind of complicated. It's pretty robust. You can send it a lot of different data and it will interpolate from that data what you want. One of the structures, so this right here where you're adding that list view item, this can be a text string. It can be an already existing list view item. It can be a pre-list view item, or it can be an item info. That's another structure that uh, the custom libraries use heavily. And basically what it does is I just set up the name and the ID, because that ID determines what happens when you click on it. And that's coded in this application. And then once those fields are set up, because this automatically goes with it, this is just the name. That's the % in that you've seen in the report record, in that localization report record. D would be display name, if you wanted to see that. Because a lot of times the display name is a relative file name as opposed to a name is the full file name. And then I simply add those fields. It'll know this structure and it pulls what it needs out of that structure. That's the list I'm adding it to. So the function info would go over here somewhere. This is the link that links me back to the folder name. Therefore, that is what allows you to right click and say open folder. That is how it does the location. And that's it. And then you just show the window form. There's the window title I mentioned. That was over in here. That's window 100. And this is the application. That's the application. That's the localizations for the app. And that's the report list. Function would go over here. Function info would go over in one of these fields, but since I don't set it up, but therefore it goes, oh, okay, you're sending me a list. I still know what to do with it. And that's it. That's really all the code it took. It didn't really take most of it. Like I say, it's all pretty much just all this blocking documentation that I use. The code, the libraries handle most of that for me, so it makes it real easy to add things. All right, so I just wanted to show everybody how you can double click on things and you can fire off applications to look at those quote things. You can decompile scripts with Champollion. I do have I did include in I'm going to include in the package the configuration files I use or, it's the program control, but you'll need to go in, each person need to go in and put in there where these files are located. Otherwise, it won't be able to locate them. All right, so I hope that is useful for everybody. And I've got one more application that I wanting to work on coming up. I've actually lost today. I thought today was Thursday, but it's Friday. So weekends coming up. We usually have family time on the weekends, so I won't have a lot of time to do things. I do sneak off though. Yeah, they do hunt me down, but I do sneak off and try to get a few things done. But uh, so I won't be able to really do much until next week, and next week I wanna kinda dedicate to extracting files. If I get it done quick, that's gonna leave me a block at the during in the middle of the week to do some other things. But if not, then I'll push the new applications to kinda get the framework done. I'll push those out to the next week. But I still need to go back and visit, apps like, ConflictUtility. I need to finish those up because right now it's just kind of a bare bones, kind of just a placeholder for it. So I need to go back and get that working, and then once it's working, then I can fine tune it for different types of foam mods. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a great day and a great weekend. And like I say, if you have any problems or anything, just give me a holler, and I will. If you got suggestions or something, an idea you might have, let me know, because I know as I break these things apart and I get the extraction code in, there is some check programs that I want to. Uh, Implement as well. I wanna code some programs that's gonna do an integrity check on data, and that may help, find problems before they happen. I don't understand a lot of the data, but, it's as long as I have the framework in there, the little implementations of it, then as time goes and my knowledge increases, then I can kind of, the code I can build on I can build the code from that. Alright, well, Imma hop off here. Hope everybody has a great evening and a great day, morning, evening, and a great weekend. I'll chat at everyone later.